Story 1. My husband. Back when we were still friends, I told him about my plan to die. I just had this feeling of dying before I reached 30. I can't figure out if it will be suicide or from a sickness, but my intuition tells me that I'll live a short, sad life. He wanted me to live and appreciate life, he said it himself. We were supposed to get married next month, September 26th, as we share the same birthday. I still plan to marry him, but his family suggests that I should go to therapy as he had already arranged for me. He died last August 3rd. Story 2. Life is beautiful and insane, and it will end no matter what someday. So until then, I'll take a beer and try not to be crushed under the universe's infinity and laughter. Story 3. My wife's smile. The way my cat lovingly nudges me every night around 2 a.m. How excited my dog gets for his morning walk when I step out of bed, and going for a drive with the windows down. Story 4. My best friend died last year due to heart failure at 25. She lay by me every single night for over a year when we both didn't like being alone. I will not waste a second I have that she doesn't. Story 5. I don't think there's an afterlife, so I'm scared to miss out on some things. I would like to see who my son grows up to be. I wonder if George will ever finish Game of Thrones. I like seeing the crazy things that kids come up with and seeing what stuff from my youth they think is cool. Plus, there are things like watching my dog roll in freshly cut grass or a really cold glass of root beer that still make me really happy. Story 6. Friday afternoon and Saturday. Big breasts, plump round bottoms, and face sitting. Beer, tacos, fear of oblivion from the religious psychological abuse that was programmed into my brain as a child. Fishing. Story 7. That there are approximately 11 million sperm ejaculated at once to fertilize an egg. The Mega Millions lottery has better odds. The best lottery that we have is life. It would be a shame to give it all away. Story 8. My dog. Everyone else I know would understand where I went and what happened to me, knowing I was in a better place. But my dog, he wouldn't know. He would just know that one day I never came back, and he wouldn't understand why. I couldn't bear to make him think that someone else abandoned him, so I keep going for him. Story 9. My wife, my dog, but mostly the fact that a new two-dimensional Zelda is finally coming out after years, along with the fact that I can't die before seeing the end of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. Story 10. Because life is great and full of fun things to do, experience, or even look at. Fishing is all of these for me. As my friend and Occupational Chemical Information Association sponsor said, people don't kill themselves because they hate life, but rather, they hate their obstacles and problems. I'm paraphrasing that, but whatever. As someone who has struggled with suicidal tendencies and thoughts, it's easy to want to end all your problems, but the reality is that you'd miss so much, even if you're like me and have a condition that makes it hard to enjoy a lot of things. But life is great, and there are things to look forward to. Even if it's the smell of that cologne you like in the morning or a new piece of clothing you enjoy that you get to wear again. Story 11. Life is unpredictable. Having recently gone through the roller coaster of being ahead of most of my peers financially, to having less than $200 to my name, and then now having a very secure job. Just over a year ago, I was having trouble sleeping, thinking my life was over. I was going to be one of those losers scrubbing floors for minimum wage. But things changed. Kept at it. I do not know what will happen next week. I might meet the love of my life. I might get hit by a bus. But I know what waits for me in death. A whole lot of nothing. Story 12. I try to see life as an adventure. What is the point in ending it early when there are so many possibilities to be explored? When I take life way too seriously, that is when all the trouble begins. Story 13. Cheese. If I'm having a bad day, I just grab some cheese and eat it. It doesn't matter what kind. American, cheddar, provolone, Swiss, it doesn't matter. I love cheese. Story 14. I was exhausted one night, tried to go to sleep, and I had the most vivid hallucination of my life. To sum it up, I got shot in the back of the head. There was no pain, only the vivid sensation of liquid leaking from my head and the acceptance that I was dead. The extreme feeling of existential dread, the realization I was dead, all the people I'd miss, and all the things I wished I could experience one last time practically snapped away any depressive thoughts permanently. I developed the most accurate fear of death imaginable. Story 15. There is always something I do not know or have not discovered, always something new to learn or experience. I want the time to do everything and know everything before I curl up my toes. Story 16. First and foremost, my sons are too young to understand death and mourning. I thrive by teaching them all that I didn't know so they'd be better equipped to face life and its challenges. Then writing. Writing saved my life numerous times ever since I was a teenager. First, through poetry to cope with my emotional side of that era. Then by writing stories where my characters face the same challenges in fantasy settings, and I find solutions with them, which helps me live through it. I was in a terrible place last year, and I wrote a whole novel in 3 months to give myself therapy for it all, and now I'm back on track. It's really my go-to when I am drowning in despair. Right. Story 17, Earth. There are so many beautiful places to explore, and I want to travel to every corner of it. The world is a beautiful place. Only humans are spoiling it. Story 18. As someone who tried to end her own life and didn't succeed, I have a lot of reasons to keep going. Being incredibly curious and wanting to see what happens, genuinely loving being alive, my cats, and my friends. But my favorite reason is the story of the man who wanted to end his life. So he rented a car, took out a lot of money, went to Mexico, and spent a lot of money on cocaine and sleeping with prostitutes for a last hurrah. After a week, he decided life was worth living. I think about this man all the time. If you want to end it all, when you truly believe you're going to die, why not go out with a bang? Go skydiving, rob a bank, do everything you've always wanted to do. If you're going to end it, then at this point life is essentially a video game to you, so why not do video game stuff? File for bankruptcy and go to Bali. Do what you feel like. Because maybe once you start really living, you might suddenly find life is worth living. I want to be clear. I know this may not work for everyone, but that story always stuck with me. Story 19. The small beauties of the world. The little moments that aren't supposed to be the best but are anyway. Like my favorite things from The Sound of Music. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with string. These are a few of my favorite things. Story 20. I was just crying because I thought of killing myself again. Just right after crying for over an hour, I opened Reddit to fall asleep while reading. And this is the first post that's on my feed. Reading the comments makes me feel better. Thank you. Story 21. Spite. Bullies in school constantly told me I should end my life, so I'm going to prove to them and everyone else who hurt me that my life is worth living. It's probably a bad reason to keep going, but it's all I've got right now. Story 22. My sister. We've had each other's back since we were kids, especially with the very small age gap between us. If I die, she'll lose motivation to succeed and reach her goals, and I'm scared she'll be too depressed to finish medical school, especially since she's so close. I can't ruin her life. I don't feel like I matter, but I know that she matters, and that's all that I need to keep pushing every day and putting one foot in front of the other. Story 23. My girlfriend and her cats, my best friend, my parents and little brother, everyone who helped me through my darkest times and the recovery that followed. I have come so far already, it would be a waste to give it all up. I still have so much love to give. Story 24. I'm scared because I don't believe in an afterlife. All I think would happen is complete darkness and absolute nothingness, and that terrifies me. I want to experience life no matter how bad I feel. I don't want absolute nothingness. Story 25. Getting to see my garden bloom. I always choose different flowers that I haven't grown before, and witnessing the beauty of nature that I grew and nurtured never gets old. Story 26. My friend lost his battle to cancer at 30, and another friend's brother just passed in a tragic accident at 29. Both deserved more time, and I feel fortunate for every day, week, and year of this life I live. I truly thank my lucky stars. Story 27. I don't want to leave my wife alone. Watching grandchildren grow up. Riding my motorcycle on a warm day. A good whiskey. resting a hand on the warm fur of my dog sleeping, cooking a tasty meal, the soft crunch of gravel under my hiking boots. Story 28, my daughter, wife, and family. I go to the gym every day to stay healthy so that I can live as long as possible to watch my daughter grow and be there for her as long as possible. Story 29, trying to find joy in small things, like my favorite foods, media, and hobbies. Anything that can keep me going another day, no matter how minuscule or silly. Fear of missing out in some ways. The thought of how devastated and betrayed my fiancé would feel. I couldn't leave him to deal with the burden of life all alone. Knowing he feels worse than me. If he can try and stay for me, then it's only fair I can try my hardest to stay for him too. For us. Also, I'm just kind of scared of it. More specifically, I have no idea how it's going to happen, and I really don't want to suffer. Story 30, mainly my daughter and my mother, but the family in general. I have my affairs in order, but I would like to stay here for a while to see how we grow together. Story 31. I like how life unfolds before me, even if things don't always go my way. Pain and suffering are inevitable, but there's also beauty and happiness. There's, however, always lessons. That's what I'm after. What am I going to learn next? Story 32. My cat of 9 years. He's my son, and I can't fathom him being alone without me. For context, I had cancer 3 years ago. About 3 months after treatment, I got a life-threatening case of COVID pneumonia. I recovered but now found out I have heart damage from said COVID. I'm not looking to catch a break, but I've had enough. I've seen and done just about everything I've wanted in life. The things I did not accomplish are nothing really noteworthy. I'm 33, male, and sometimes I'm just cashed out. I know it's horrible and somewhat ungrateful, but mentally I've reached my limit and don't really have anything else going on. So yeah, it sounds like I want to die, but I just acknowledge it's part of life, and avoiding death 2 times in 3 months takes an unprecedented toll. That toll likely varies from person to person. I guess my only regret would be not having children. I always wanted to be a dad. My father was a stellar dad growing up. We drifted apart as we got older, but I have so many great memories from when I was a little kid. But I remember the love and happiness in his eyes when my brother and I were small. Sorry for rambling, but it's 5 a.m. where I live and I can't sleep. I think people find their own purpose to keep going, goals left unaccomplished, love not yet lived. We have endless potential as humans. Maybe someday I'll write about my life, everything I can remember from birth to this point. Then I'll read it and see if I forgot a reason to keep going. My mother told me I better outlive her. I felt bad, but I said I can't make a guarantee on that. Not with my track record. My mother and I are quite close. She gets sad and upset when I'm blunt and realistic instead of hopeful. Head in the clouds. I think this is because I'm the youngest of her children, only 2 of us. My elder brother of 3 years is in good health with no known concerns. Genetics are weird like that, I guess. We are rather opposite when it comes to our strengths and weaknesses, though. He's more tech-savvy and textbook smart. I'm more hands-on and get dirty street smart. Our relationship dwindled when he moved across the country for work. I don't really know him anymore, and when he visits, I'm too sick to travel. We usually just go out and party. Yes, I push myself to party. Well, why push myself? When we were young, in our late teens and early 20s, my brother would try and spend time with me and invite me out to events, and I always declined. I was addicted to video games as a coping mechanism for my chronic depression, which was undiagnosed. So I never spent time with him, but we remained close nonetheless. So I live with regret that I could have had great adventures with my brother, whom I now see maybe twice a year at best. Finally, I think I just made too many bad choices that hurt me and others emotionally, and I could never get over or let go. So me getting sick was the icing on the cake that broke me to just float through life. My cat is a great companion and has tried to help the best a cat can. I have few regrets, but the ones I do have burdened me with guilt beyond measure. Just try to live your best life, folks. It's a gift and not a right. Story 33. The feeling I get from an early morning hike when I am on vacation in a national park. The random kindness of strangers, the taste of coffee in the morning, being by the ocean, my dog, Story 34. The fact that although I have to deal with a lot of negative issues in my life, mostly due to health challenges, even if I am passively suicidal most days, and even if I am struggling to find a job and make ends meet, I still enjoy being alive. I enjoy my video games, my sports, my friends, my loved ones. The world may be in shambles, but it still continues to amaze me. Life is good. Even if difficult, life is good. Story 35. I just love this life. It is complicated sometimes, but it is worth living. Nothing lasts forever, and this life will undoubtedly end. So we need to enjoy every moment of it, even if it feels impossible to get through. Story 36. The possibility that things could get better. Knowing that I cannot leave the world this way because I have a responsibility to make it at least a little better for my children. Knowing that without me, my kids would struggle hard. Story 37. Leaving my family, even if they are why I am depressed. When I was 13, the only person I told that I wanted to die was my 8-year-old sister, and she started crying and clinging to me. She never told anyone, but I will never forget that.